Hello, I will be doing my video presentation on Beezus and Ramona. So Beezus and Ramona is a very classic tale of two sisters, and this book was originally published in 1955 by none other than Beverly Cleary. And this is the first book in an 8-book series. So the sisters here, Beezus, who's 9, and Ramona is 4, they're quite opposites. Beezus is very mature for her age. She's very calm and she's very reserved, while Ramona is quite the opposite. She's a pest, she's wild, she's loud. And because of this, the sisters don't get along very well. And it creates a lot of tension in the house. So to Beezus, Ramona is a pest. So the beginning of the book sets the scene for the rest of the book. And it starts out with Beezus, right here, who's quietly cross-knitting on the couch while Ramona rides in circles and circles, playing her harmonica and riding her tricycle. I'll show you a picture right here. Kind of shows the situation. So that's page 4. And the rest of the book is situations like this. Ramona doing something a little wild and Beezus getting very frustrated because of this. And throughout the book, Beezus deals with a guilty conscience. She feels like she doesn't love her sister all the time because of how much of a pest she is. But she learns that her aunt, who she thinks is the most perfect person ever, who she got her name from, Aunt Beatrice, Beezus, which is nickname for Beatrice, that her aunt and her mom used to be like this when they were kids, and she can't believe it because their relationship as adults is so perfect. So it makes her feel better that it's okay to not love her sister at all times. And then Ramona, on the other hand, doesn't really learn much in this book. She is only 4. And then the next book in the series is called Ramona the Pest, so there's that. So this story has a lot of great visuals. The cover, obviously, the two sisters, Beezus and Ramona. And then the cover is Beezus looking very disapprovingly at Ramona, while Ramona has a sweet, innocent 4-year-old face, as they do. And yeah. So this series in general has a lot of different covers, but this is probably my favorite art style that it has because this is my childhood copy I got for like 3rd grade or 4th grade for my birthday, and this is the 2006 edition, so this one's my favorite. And yeah, so each chapter in this book has a couple pictures. So the first chapter I think has 4 or 5, so it has the one of the tricycle, and then each of these visuals actually kind of depict what's going on in the story. So we have another one on page 16. Beezus and Ramona are going to the library, and Ramona insisted on wearing her Easter bunny ears she made at nursery school, although it's September, and Beezus does not like this, but the mother was not gonna argue this one. It's not worth a fight. Then on page 133, I'll show another example. This is Ramona invited her whole nursery class to come to her house without the mother knowing, and this is them playing parade. A great activity to entertain. I think it was like 15 4-year-olds. So the pictures in this story are very realistic, as in like this picture, for example. I could see this actually happening, and yeah, it's just very realistic and simple, and I love them. So this genre is obviously realistic fiction. These characters aren't real. Beverly Cleary made up the story, but the events in the story could actually happen. And then I think one of my favorite passages is towards the end when it's kind of the middle, Beezus is left to watch Ramona when their mother is gone. And after a while, Beezus can't find her anymore, and she eventually, after a little freak out, finds Ramona hiding in the basement. So what she's doing in this basement is taking a single bite out of every apple in the crate. And Beezus is furious, because why would you eat every bite of an apple? Obviously, Ramona says, because the first bite is the best. And then my favorite passage starts with... Oh yeah, so yes, so she finds her in the basement hiding, and Beezus is distraught. She's angry at Ramona, and then at that time her Aunt Beatrice ends up calling her, and Beezus is telling her, what should I do, and her Aunt Beatrice tells her to I can't find the passage, I wrote it down. Oh, here it is. So they're like, leave it to Ramona to figure out some new way to be up to mischief. And her aunt basically tells her, I wouldn't say anything more about it, said Aunt Beatrice. Lots of times, little children are naughty because they want to attract attention. I have an idea that saying nothing about her naughtiness will worry Ramona more than a scolding. Beezus thought this over and decided her aunt was right. If there was one thing Ramona couldn't stand, it was being ignored. I'll try that, she said. So basically, Beezus just kind of ignores the problem, and Ramona does not like this. So when Mother gets home, Beezus tells her this plan, and she agrees. So when Mother comes in and doesn't scold Ramona for this, Ramona gets very upset and said, I was naughty today. But Mother just goes, okay, and doesn't ask any more questions. And then when Father comes home, same thing. Ramona gets very frustrated that she's not getting in trouble. And she keeps saying, I was a bad girl. I did not do a good thing today. And eventually she confesses what she did, but still the parents are, okay. So she does not like this, and I just think it's funny that it is, poor girls, they want the attention, and if they have to get that through being naughty, they'll be naughty, and then when they don't get the attention, they do not like it. They get very frustrated, and Ramona does throw a little bit of a fit, but then a good thing that comes out of it is Ramona is on her best behavior at dinner that night, that never happens. So I really like that scene for this. It's kind of a whole chapter. And then for strengths, the first strength, well, for me at least, it's a very comforting book. Since this was one of my favorite books, this whole series, all of Beverly Cleary's books, really. I read this over the weekend. It took me like less than 2 hours. I just laid in bed and read this, and it was great. It was such a good time. I kind of want to read the rest of the books now. But yeah, the first real strength is this book was published almost 70 years ago, and it's still relevant to today. It's still a book of two sisters. Sisters still fight, obviously. Siblings fight. And it's just very accurate to children today can still relate to this. Generations and generations of kids have read these books since it was published in 1955, and it's always been a hit, I would assume, to everyone who's read it. And yeah, then the weaknesses kind of go with this. That the weaknesses for me is that some of the language hasn't really progressed or is not really the same as it was. Like there's 2 words that really stand out to me that kind of makes it a weakness that children would just need to explain. So one is they talk about a Davenport. Ramona jumped off the Davenport. And most people, they don't know what that is. I do because my dad likes to call a Davenport's a couch. It's just another word for a couch. My dad likes to say that because, I don't know, he thinks it's funny, but no one knows what he's talking about. So a Davenport is a couch. And then the other one is Beatrice is talking about their Aunt Beatrice. Or Beezus is talking about their Aunt Beatrice. And she calls her short and gay. And obviously, 1955, gay is happy. That's what it means. She's calling her happy. She's calling her short. But a 3rd grader, 4th grader, 5th grader today who reads this is not going to know what Davenport means, but it's not going to think that's what she's talking about. Like, what? But yeah. So that's the only kind of weaknesses I found from this is the strengths is it's aged well, but also some parts, the weaknesses it hasn't as aged well. And then I think it is visually and the language is appropriate for children to 3rd, 4th, maybe 5th graders. 3rd graders were definitely above grade level. 4th graders, 5th graders. I think I read this in 3rd or 4th grade. And yeah, it's very understandable. The language, besides a couple things, is very understandable. And the visuals, very simple, very nice, very cute. I love Ramona. And yeah. And then a class activity I thought of was actually recreating the pictures in the book. So I thought that would be a fun activity for kids to do. And then, for example, page 23, I actually wrote that number down, is Ramona wants to get a library book, so she's trying to sign her name. So I thought that's actually what she signs. She thinks that's how her name looks. But yeah, I thought that would be a fun one. I mean, all the visuals, but for example, you could get 3 people, and then you could just make it simple, or you can make the costumes and try and figure out something to wear that looks like them, or make something and then have a stack of books and having each of the poses. And it's kind of a fun activity, like it's the kids moving. It's not just, oh, I have to write a book report. You get to be creative and create something that you don't normally get to do in class. This would also be a fun one for like the beginning of the school year, or even like the week before Christmas break or Thanksgiving break or something like that. Just have some days where you can just get up around the classroom, move things. Yeah. And I think that is all. Yeah. So thank you. Here was Beezus and Ramona.